Hello and welcome into Off Topic, brought to you by SorareData. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Today, to talk about whatever we want. Really, that's what it's all about here on Off Topic. I did have like not a fake topic, and I tried to word it differently than what others have interpreted. But when I tweeted, what did I tweet? I tweeted something that made it sound like I was going to tell everyone how to beat the SorareData lineup builder. And part of that is true. Not really. What did I say? To help explain why it's hard to defeat the SorareData lineup builder. And so that's not how to beat it, but it might help a little bit. And so we'll see. We'll see. Thanks everyone for joining. If you guys could hit the like button on the video, it's always nice. Kevin Hurd, first time catching us live this week, which is great. Better late than never. Speaking of late, not late today. And thank you guys for noticing that. Wait here. Daniel Cooper, wait, Laird's on time. On time, Dino. Here we go, guys. Podium, we're serious now. Now that I work for Podium, we got to be on time. And I'm just kidding. Well, I'm sure I'll be late on Monday. But appreciate everyone who is here. Mike Basson said it's Friday, it's 5 p.m. It's freaking so hot. It's beer and Laird time. And it's really hot here. Germ says it's 109 degrees. I assume that's Fahrenheit in Dallas today. It's so hot where I live that my kids had half days of school, like early dismissals, Wednesday, Thursday, and today, just because it's so hot. No air conditioning or not enough air conditioning in the schools. And so, Alex Wilson said, good evening. It's too hot. Something about Scandinavia. Oh, we'll get to Scandinavia. Shout out to Denmark yesterday with their big win. And it feels like all 11 of their starters, 10 starters, except Scott Olsen had 100. It wasn't quite that bad, but there was a lot. Yeah, it's just hot everywhere, it seems. I don't know. Who knows why? I'm sure there's nothing that any of us could do about it that would change that. Oh, Daniel Cooper says it's actually relatively cool in California. Chani, one person who didn't beat the Algo. The Algo only beat me because of Griezmann's game being postponed. Is there any theory that maybe the Algo postponed the game? I'm just kidding. So I guess we could just get right into it because I got nothing else to really talk about. But one of the reasons that actually I'm going to go off topic, not even off topic. I'm going to pivot a little bit quickly. There's been a lot of feedback that I've seen about Phil's, Nellis, and Chani doing this man versus machine challenge. And a lot of people are like, oh, I could beat it. Why don't you ask me? They're only asking content creators. We didn't even come up with this. Maybe we did talk about it, but these guys did this on their own. There's nothing stopping anyone from doing this too. And so go do it. We would love to see how many people go out there and beat the Algos. And I'm going to at least... Oh, Chani said it actually wasn't the Algo who postponed it, but he's sure that Vitaly was spraying clouds into the air in Madrid, which is fair. Okay, Phil's had the original thought. So I'll give credit to Phil's for that and for being the first one to lose. And then Nellis for losing, and then Chani for losing on this technicality that Griezmann didn't play. So if you think you can beat the Algo, go do it. Again, there is nothing that they did in their videos that cannot be done by anyone else. You can go in, you can do your drafts. Go do it. I wouldn't recommend this game week because it's an international play, and international play is really stupid and I hate it. I did see Chani tweet at one point, basically get rid of international play during the club season. Chani, I'm all in on that. All in on it. So Alex Wilson said, I don't know how to beat it. I haven't watched their videos. Well, first go watch their videos, but after this one. But basically the idea was they make all their lineups for game week, and then they use the SorareData lineup builder suggestions to see who that thinks they should play, and then whoever wins the most cards wins. And I will say, because Maxime really wants Sean to do it, and Sean is fully convinced he can beat it. I actually think he can. I do think that there have to be some very clear rules, because Sean would consider winning 1 star and nothing else versus like 17 tier 5s as winning. And so he might have a different opinion of what winning is to others. So I'm just saying we need to get those rules out. So Alex once said his solution will just involve Carlos Hill. So that's almost a little bit of the funny thing about this. It's not like the algorithm is suggesting cards that people don't have. Like it uses your gallery against you. Can they make lineups from your cards better than you can? And this is what I wanted to talk about today, because the biggest reason why people will lose when they try this competition is fundamentally because they're not playing the same competition. And I'll expand on that. Kevin Hurd said the problem if Sean did it, it would be, quote, remember that time I beat the Algo would come up a lot. I don't know how much, like, I think he's so confident that he beats it that it's almost like not even an accomplishment to beat it. And so I don't know. And, like, does Sean bring stuff up that he's right about all the time? I don't know. So Jump Shoot said, so the algo prioritizes certain tourneys over others. So this is the key here. It does not. It prioritizes whatever you put into it. And this is why I'll explain it. And why and we'll talk about our new feature that came out that is getting us one step closer to the button. Oh, Vita said, well, if 6 people before I'm lost, then he'll for sure brag about it. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so this is a topic that we have talked about on strategy shows before. I've talked about it, I think, if I remember, I talked about it with Quinny, but it was mostly, I only think that because I remember wanting to talk to Quinny because he's the first one that really talked about this. And fundamentally, it comes down to what you want to prioritize. And it's not whether you want to prioritize certain competitions. It's how many competitions you want to prioritize, meaning how many lineups you want to have. And that is immediately what puts the algorithm ahead. So let me break this down a little differently. You go into a game week. So Scosmo said 1 star is 100% better than 15 tier 5s. So I'll get into that too, because I agree with him. So you have your cards and you sit down to do your lineups and you're thinking, what do I want? How do I want to play this game week? And you know your cards better than anyone else. So that's the other kind of weird thing when it comes to watching people do lineup builders and stuff like that you don't have the same cards. So the decisions that one manager makes is very different than someone else. If you're somebody who prioritizes Rare Pro, and so Vita's got it right here. I prioritize All-Star Pro, but I'm saving Kimmich for Champion Europe and Kirchu for U23. So that's fundamentally where the problems start. And there was a very key point during Nellis's video where I believe it suggested to have him play Lucas. Oh man, I just got the pronunciation of this on Tuesday. Herdesky, the Leverkusen goalie. To have him play, I don't even remember what it was. Maybe it was All-Star Super Rare. And he was like, I get it, but I always play this card in Champion Europe because it's the only Champion Europe Super Rare I have. So right away, he is taking a lesser option for the lineup that he is prioritizing. And Mike Basson said, to cut this stream short, the algo has no biases. There is some of that, yes. Radetsky is what Blue Tomatoes is now telling me. Good luck, Andrew. Keep talking. Oh, I got 50 minutes in me. Because I don't think people necessarily really get that concept that it's not just well, it is the biases, yes. But you need to recognize your biases before you do it. And the biases are less about players and more about competitions, in that I always play Herdetsky in Champion Europe. And the example that Quinny gave when he talked about this a long time ago was, if he has a U23 player who is one of his 5 best cards for a game week, he will put that in whatever competition it should go in terms of whatever the priority is. So if All-Star is his priority and his best option is a U23 player, he will put that U23 player in All-Star. And if it means killing the U23 lineup, so be it. Because that's the competition he wants to prioritize, and he's going to take the best cards for that lineup. So thank you, John Andrews, Lucas. SGT Stedenko said, does the algo take into account the lineups already entered into contest by other players, therefore being able to prioritize weaker competitions? So the answer to that is no, because we don't know what lineups are already submitted. Like, not everybody uses a lineup builder, so we don't know that. Vita says, my personal bias is power. I can't resolve to put my 15% players in cap 220, 240, even if that's the best call. Not only that, I do it the other way also, where if I have if I bought a new card, it was old, it's 1%, I'm like, I cannot play this card in a real competition. So let's see. Wow, Quinny is cold-blooded. Totally cold-blooded. Absolutely. So what happens when you go to do your first... So not only does it take your best cards in whatever lineup you do first. So let's say it's All-Star Rare Pro. So it'll take the 5 best cards for that. It doesn't always pick 2 super rares. It knows that you have super rares, but it's possible that you have 4 rares, that are better, or your 4th rare is better than your 2nd super rare in your gallery. And so it'll tell you, play this 1 super rare lineup. And a lot of people are like, I won't do that. I have to play 2 super rares. And right away, according to at least the algorithm's calculations, you are now making a worse lineup than what it came up with. So not only that, you are now taking a card that should be in a lower lineup and putting it in a higher one. So you're actually hurting the other lineup as well. So now this is 2 lineups that it's ahead of you on instead of 1. So Jumpshoe said MLB coins are now 1 reward. All right, let's go. Audrey says, does the algorithm take into consideration who will play percentage versus very minimal, like 95% and 100, even though 95 is still a high possibility, but it still picks the 100% player as a better option? I will say that also the lineup suggestions and frankly, the percentages to start you should always use that as close to the deadline as possible. And if you run the algorithm if you run the suggested lineups on Tuesday for the Friday lineups, it will create most likely different lineups on Friday because of certain things like the projected starting possibility. Daniel Cooper said the algorithm doesn't get the fun factor of watching my 5th priority lineup score 230 points, which is also true. Marcus, does the algo take stacking into account? It does not, as far as I know. Like, it will not artificially boost the expected points for that player just because one of their teammates is playing in that lineup as well. And Vita's right. Isn't that a bias? I stack all the time. So fundamentally what we do is also choose competitions, whether they're the right ones to start with or not. So it's possible that you have what could be a great challenger rare lineup. But you sit there and you're like, I'd really rather play All-Star. And so what happens is you put that lineup in All-Star, which is actually not like the best possible place to play that lineup. And just from that, and it may not even, the All-Star possibility may not even include 5 challenger players. But let's say it does. Let's say it takes 3 of them. So now those 3 challenger players that could go into a really, really good challenger rare lineup are now in All-Star with 2 cards that are like, okay. So now you have just like an okay All-Star lineup because you're like, I really just want to play All-Star. And now you've really lessened your challenger lineup because you're taking the best cards out of it. So it actually doesn't even, how you prioritize is also a bias that you need to get after. And the new lineup strength indicator should help people with that. Like theoretically, what we should all do when doing lineups every week is, and we really should do this like Friday, is go to each competition and do the suggested lineup, see how high the lineup strength indicator is, choose whatever the highest one is to start, and then build your lineups from there. And let me just pull it up here. I can't imagine I even have good lineups for this midweek. Do I even have, I do have players. Look at that. So if you just, oh man, I got so many players, guys. Here we go. This is where I find out like I don't have one defender. Woof. Oh, of course. Looks like we're shopping this week, guys. But anyway, just do a suggested lineup. And here I have, God, I love seeing those River Plate boys together. It's not even stacking. So we have a suggested lineup of 78 here. All of the, well, it's internationals, but like, let's say I pull this up for All-Star Rare. And then I take it over to, I can't do this because these are all internationals, but these are all Champion America players. And I take this over to Champion America, and all of a sudden my lineup strength is like 85 because it's only comparing it to lineups that can be built with America players. Maybe it's better off in America. And then I start there and work my way down in the priority. Like the lineup strength actually will help you with lineup priority much more than player priority. Oh yeah, except Alvarez. Sorry. You're right, Vita. I saw the River Plate and I just got thrown off. So fundamentally, the lineup builder suggestions should help you prioritize play like cards in that competition. And the lineup strength indicator should help you prioritize which competitions to enter. Haber, there's never any hate with you, please. Haber is going to be on the Sorare Ramble from now on. If anybody listens to that, it's now going to be different, and Haber is going to be on it. So now we'll all listen for Haber. Hopefully the first one is next week. Haber, have you guys recorded yet? Anyway. Jump shoot, we do not have this for MLB yet. But there's that. Anyway, so fundamentally, and I'm not telling you how to beat the algorithm at this suggested lineup competition, but you have to be able to make unbiased decisions about your lineups, about your cards, and really about your lineups in order to at least have a chance. Because what you're doing when you're like, oh, I always play like Martin Vandevort, you have like a U23 goalie, and you're like, All-Star Rare is what I want to prioritize this week. It's a month-long competition. I scored really well the first week. I want to put my best lineup there. And Gank is like a huge favorite at home. And it's like the algorithm, the suggested lineup is like, you should play Vandevort in All-Star. And you're sitting there like, well, I don't have another U23 goalie. So if I play him there, I can't play U23 this week. And so I'm going to play someone else. And whoever the someone else is, you are fundamentally now choosing a worse lineup than what the algorithm is coming to in order to play Vandevort in U23. And you better believe that you will need 4 really good U23 outfield players. Because if you play Van de Voort in U23 and you don't win a reward, it's the same thing that the algorithm told you to do. So that's all. Blue Tomatoes. Are you also the product? Oh, Vita, are you also the product owner of SorareData, NBA, and MLB? He just runs all of SorareData. But yeah, it is Sean for now. I don't know if everybody knows that, actually. Here we go. Nanzo said the lineup builder is swinging for home runs. I'm playing for the best batting average over time. We're playing 2 different games. I actually don't think that's fundamentally right. Like swinging for home runs, to use a baseball term, I feel like that is assuming that the algorithm is choosing like high risk, high reward options instead of just what it thinks are the best players, the highest scoring players for that lineup. And like it takes into account form and opponent and tons of things. And so it's not always that. Alex Wilson shouldn't be swinging for home runs at every bat. That's a fair point too. There's a story once, I think it was Vladimir Guerrero, who was taking batting practice once, and he was hitting balls like to left field and then center and then right. And somebody was like, "Oh, do you practice like where you want to hit the ball?" And he was like, "No, I just try to hit the ball as hard as I can every single time." Yeah. So anyway, Daniel says, feels like you just need to weigh up the benefit of that player versus an extra lineup, which of course would depend on the strength of each lineup and the player. So it is absolutely that. But I also think that we way overestimate the value of that extra lineup to the detriment of the original lineup. And so that's the problem, I think. And so that's the problem. Daniel Cooper said, would the algo choose different lineups if it could just hit a button and it would build all the lineups at once rather than us selecting one lineup at a time as it would try to fill the lineups? So Daniel, I assume you want what we kiddingly refer to as the button. Like you want one button where you're like, give me the best portfolio of lineups for this week, and it builds that. Like I think that's what a lot of people want, which is funny because I feel like it takes out so much of the point of Sorare, but people want it, or at least want to do it. So, hey, let me compete against this button. And so I think the answer is yes. And I assume it's very difficult if there are a bunch of people who are just like, yeah, do that. Cause it's essentially running all of the combinations of your possible lineups. And finding out which one essentially has like the highest lineup strength score overall. Like if you sum up the lineup strengths, that might not even be the right way to do it. But I think you're right. I think you're right. Yes, I want to know how it would change the lineups it builds. Like the Jumpshoot said, well, with, quote, the button, unquote, your gallery building becomes more important. It's like you are a general manager more than a day-to-day coach, which I suppose that's right. But I feel like the point of Sorare is that we get to do both. Like that's the fun thing. Yeah. Misaki said building lineups is half the fun of Sorare. So Charlie said the problem currently with the algo, let me read it and then I'll respond. The problem currently with the algo is that it will build one lineup of a 90 strength and would leave the rest of your lineups in tatters. An option to save, make me 3 strong lineups rather than 1 killer. So, but the point should be to make your best lineup. Like fundamentally, don't you want to compete? Don't you want to have the best opportunity to compete? And if the best opportunity is 1 lineup versus 4, then why not take that opportunity? Like, I think that's the problem. that we have. That's inherently the bias that we have, or another bias that we have, in that I don't want to just play 2 lineups. I want to play these 5, and I have cards for these 5. And you're like, yeah, but those 5 really don't have a great shot of winning. So why don't you just do 1 that has a shot at winning? And you're like, yeah, but I like 5. Yeah. Isn't winning a division better than winning 3 tier 2s? Blue Tomato said maybe people want 3 tier 5s over 1 tier 1. That's fine. Yeah, I think Nanzo says, I'll move cards to try to podium in more competitions rather than put out the best team to try to win a single competition. I mean this respectfully, but I don't think your situation applies. Not that it doesn't apply. That's not fair. I don't think most people are being like, I have these 3 lineups, let me move these, and then I'll podium multiple times, as opposed to just 1. I don't know. Haber said, I've learned to sacrifice having multiple lineups to have my best possible lineup or lineups out. So I missed this earlier one from Haber. Having multiple lineups feels like a safeguard. If one dies, you have more with hope. So I think that's ultimately what it is jump shoot, 5 lotto tickets or more than 1. So I actually think the lotto example is incorrect. I think it's more raffle. And so the idea is, would you rather enter a raffle, 5 raffles with 1,000 people in each, or 1 raffle with 100 people? And you obviously would rather, fundamentally, I feel like we should want to compete against fewer people. Like, it's easier to have a lineup and have it finish ahead of 100 people than 1,000 people. And I'm not saying that's the right way to play, or you have to play that way. And if you feel better having 5 mediocre lineups instead of 1 good one, you do you. Thank you, in fact, because you're making it easier for me to finish ahead of you. But it's, if you are trying to get the best result possible, building as many possible lineups for most people is not the path. And so, everyone's saying it depends on the gallery size. 90% of users have the gallery less than 1 ETH, and 99% are below 10. So, Aled said, maybe someone's gallery is built to somewhat compete across multiple competitions rather than peak for an all-star. Maybe not having those peak players makes a difference. So this is exactly it. That you have built a gallery where you're thinking, I can compete in all-star, cap whatever, challenger, champion. Let's even just do those 4. Or we'll do 2. Well, I'll count 2 caps, so 5. There may be a game week where you actually have 5 really, really good lineups, or excuse me, 5 really, really good cards for that game week. And that together they make an exceptionally competitive lineup for one of those competitions, probably all-star or capped. And you are, because you're like, no, I spread these out. You are making the choice to not play the best possible lineup that you can put out. And if that's how you want to play, cool. But you have to know that there are going to be situations where one player from each, or even if it's a regional, you have 1 from Champion Europe, 1 from Challenger, 1 from America, 1 from Asia, and whatever. Some dude playing Asian Champions League from Saudi Arabia, whatever. And you're like, yeah, but that kind of kills the other lineups. It's like, maybe they actually weren't that competitive already. and that the only reason they were kind of competitive is because you had one good player in each. Well, what if you took all of your best players into one lineup? Like, that's the point. And that's what the algorithm is going to do. It's going to tell you, you have 5 good cards. You should play them together. And you are looking at your lineup builder and you're like, thank you, but I'm going to just break those guys up because I want more lineups. But like, that's how you lose to the algorithm. Because then when the game week ends and it's like, hey, you would have won a tier 1 with that all-star, but instead you won 3 tier 5s and 2 no-shows. Is that better? Haber, who is absolutely killing it today. In my experience, it hurts not playing valuable cards sometimes. Even this week, not playing my rare Carlos Heel hurts, knowing I have a 0.3 ETH card not being used. So this is actually another big thing. And you should feel terrible about not playing Carlos Heel. Although I say that, and I don't even know if I played mine. I'm pretty sure I played mine. I don't really love my lineups this week. Stupid international break with... I did not play him in my best lineup. I played him... Good Lord. I apparently played him in cap 220. How about that? Anyway, but you're absolutely right. And it's not even not playing valuable cards, because I mean, that can be a situation, but it's also putting valuable cards in lineups where they don't belong based on the matchup. So Carlos Heel, you have a really great lineup, and then you have Carlos Heel away to whoever, LAFC or something. And you're like, it's not a great matchup, but you're like, but I paid a lot for Carlos Heel, and I bought him to play him in this top lineup, so I'm just going to jam him in. And now you've killed this lineup because you're going to end up with a 37 from Carlos Heel, and where you probably had another better card. The algorithm is going to tell you to play the other better card. Anyway. Oh, yeah. And applies to newly acquired cards. So there's nothing better than getting a new card. Who was it? It might have been Gator Guy, who has convinced me, and this is probably bad strategy, but it's not bad enough, that if you buy a new card, like for a lineup or for a game week, you should always captain it. Captaining your new toy is always more fun than not. Anyway. And Daniel Cooper said, oh, that's funny. As long as we remember to captain our worst performing player, that's what really makes me happy. Sorry, Mike Bassett, $1 million question, Laird. Do you practice what today's stream is preaching? No. That's not true. That's not true. I think actually my biggest struggle with lineup building is contest prioritization as opposed to lineup building for those contests. Let me catch up on the chat, and then I'll go into that, because I think that's a big problem that I have, and I think the new lineup strength indicator will help me with this. And that's not like a plug for it. I literally just walked myself into thinking that, and I'll explain it. Alex Wilson said, my Tadic was wasted on a midweek with no other cards. Sorry, I got so excited I knocked my mic over. I played Tadic in cap 240 with a DNP player this past game week with Messi. I played Messi and Tadic in cap 240 because I didn't want to buy a player for this game week. And then I bought it because I was like, that's stupid. You should never do that. And then I did it for the weekend. Anyway, David Lopez said the Algo have thresholds in consideration where it prioritizes in terms of lineup strength. I don't think so, but let me know. Hold on. Does the Algo have considerations of lineup strength? It doesn't, as far as I know, in terms of others. Jump shoot, the Algo does not use boosts. And John Andrews said the algorithm needs to get a hold of Garrett Southgate to stop selecting Harry Maguire, which is really funny. Yeah, fundamentally, this is it. The algorithm is just trying to get the best possible score of the cards that are available to it for that competition. So if you've used cards in another competition, it's not going to select those. You can mess around and have it do that. But like fundamentally, it's taking the cards that you have and saying, it thinks that these 5 cards are the highest scoring combination that you can put out. Like it's as simple as that. So the lineup prioritization. So I don't think this is just a me problem, which is why I'm willing to talk about it. But I think we get too caught up or focused on competitions and rewards in those competitions, and we let that blind us to the competitiveness of our potential lineups in that competition. And so that was a really terrible way to say that. If I wrote that down, I would literally just delete that and start over. So I have, like, my goal when at one point was I want to make the most competitive all-star rare pro lineup I can make. And that wasn't, I'm just going to buy 5 players, including 2 super rares, and like run that out every week. But I want my gallery to be in a spot where every week my best lineup is in all-star rare pro and is competitive. And I think what I do a lot, which is extremely detrimental to my success, is that I play cards in all-star rare pro that could be better off elsewhere. And it's because instead of saying, I have a competitive lineup for all-star rare pro this game week, and I play it, I actually think I just play my best lineup in all-star rare pro. And that's very different. Audrey said, I might have missed this, but when is the lineup strength indicator coming out? It's out. It is out right now. This is my Cap 220 team for this week. If you go to the lineup builder, and then as soon as you start adding players to the lineup, it will start showing your lineup strength. Obviously, a 1-player lineup is not going to do that well. And so as you add players, it will progressively get better because you have more competitiveness. Let's see, 34 when we pre-messy. Oh, that's not even that big of a jump. So this is the lineup strength that you'll see, and it's a scale from 0 to 100. 100 is the best possible lineup you could put in. And at some point, we will literally have a suggestion of a player that might be better off in your lineup, and you can go out and buy that card. It's pretty sweet. So this lineup, actually, let's see here. Does it put in an, oh, right, I did have a super rare. So we're at 77 with these cards in All-Star Rare Pro. If I go to All-Star Rare, obviously this Nishikawa super rare cannot be included. So we do 77 and a suggested lineup 78. So I'm better from a strength point of view in terms of the lineups that can be played in these 2 competitions. And obviously this is very close, but I have a stronger, more competitive lineup in All-Star Rare than if I played the Rare Pro one. And so what I think fundamentally we should do every week is go to every competition. Like, I don't want to, like, I'll go to All-Star Rare, see what the suggestion says, and I'll know, let's say it's 78 here, and then I'll go to All-Star Rare Pro, and it will be, whatever the score is, and then I'll go to Challenger, and I'll go to Champion, and I'll just go through all of them and see what my best lineup strength is, and then work my way from there. And there are instances where, like, I don't just play suggested lineups ever, actually. I use them to see, like, all right, who are the best players for this upcoming game week? And the point of it is the point for me is to see, okay, like it allows me to look at guys I may not consider, but generally I think I know my gallery better than the algorithm. I'm probably wrong, but the way that I will use this matchup indicator is just that. There was a question about whether this will be available on the free version. It will not be, because it relies on pick scores, and the pick scores are for SorareData members. So if you are not a member, become a member. And if you want to try to win a membership, then just watch limited time only, because we give away 1 month of a star membership every show. All right, let's get back to these questions. Juju said, I didn't understand what you said, which, nope, that's my fault, not yours. Okay, so for example, Bellingham would be your best all-star card, and you can use him for that reason, but you think it's a mistake because Bellingham would be an even better U23 card. So it's actually the opposite. You have Jude Bellingham, and you bought Jude Bellingham because you're like, I'm going to play under 23. And then you go to All-Star and you run the suggested lineup, and it suggests Bellingham because he's your best midfielder this week. Of all your cards, he's the best. And if you want to do the best in All-Star Rare, you should play Jude Bellingham in that lineup. And you sit there and you're like, yeah, but I really bought him for U23. So you take Bellingham out and you put in someone else who's not nearly as good. You are consciously making a decision that you do not want to play the highest expecting scoring lineup. And so you are using a worse card versus what the algorithm thinks you should play. And then at the end of the game week, when Bellingham bangs 100, that you could have had an all-star, but you have it in U23 with like a goalie that scored 14, because U23 goalies are so expensive and we have to cheap on them sometimes. So now you've ruined your Bellingham card, and you've like your U23 lineup, and you've ruined your all-star lineup because Bellingham should be in there. Okay. Let's see. Sorry, I'm going through the chat again. What is Andy? Laird isn't the better answer. Run the suggestion on both lineups and take the one. Oh, wait. Sorry. I thought you were saying I was not the better answer. I'm like, no. Laird isn't the better answer. Run the suggestion on both lineups and take the one with the higher lineup score. Yes. So absolutely. Like that's, I think not both. I think you should go through every single, like this is going to would be a royal pain in the ass for Andy, because he has every scarcity, and there are enough like mixed scarcity competitions, even though we don't think there are, but you should just go through, start. I'll ignore limiteds because other than you can use 220, but I'll ignore limiteds for now. You go to All-Star Rare, run suggested lineup. What is the strength score? 75. Okay. All-Star Rare Pro, strength score 78. Okay, maybe we start there. All-Star Super Rare 62. Okay, we're not starting there. And you go through every single competition. Now again, it takes a while. Maybe at some point we like this. Imagine if we did that for you. I mean, obviously that's what people will want. But if you could do that, and I think this actually would fundamentally change the way people look at their galleries. Because what happens in the 1 week where you think, I have a really great all-star rare lineup because I got Messi, Kimmich, Cicigna, or whoever good Asia players are. And it comes back and it's like, you are actually the most competitive this week in Asia rare, because you have like a really good goalie, and you got it, the FC Seoul stack, and well, not actually, the goalie's a bad example there. Ulsan stack, and it uses your Cicigna there, and you're like, then you have to sit down and be like, do I want to put my best lineup, which includes 2 of my best players that I would put in All-Star, into Champion Asia? And yeah. Andy said it's best when you can send an automated email at the end of the week to the user and say, look what you could have won if you listened. That would be great. That would be great. Brad Craig says the community projected lineups are often a straight up joke. I wish I could personally turn that off where it wouldn't affect the grade. So, Brad, I think we have significantly improved it over the last few months. And I do find that there are instances where it's way off. But then by the time we get to the start of the game week, it's significantly better, which is, again, like why I think it's really important to look at this stuff as close to the deadline as possible. And I think that there's a not so much a misunderstanding. Well, maybe it is of how the lineup, how the projected lineup percentage works, because a lot of people think like, oh, 99% or 94% of people say this guy is going to start, which like sounds like a lot, but the percentage is actually not the number of people out of the total who projected that person to start. It's like a confidence meter, basically, which people use on other sites as well. And to be completely honest with you, anything under 100% scares the hell out of me and requires me to like look deeper. And I feel like that's sort of the point of, oh, I need to look into this a little more because there's only like a 92% confidence that this person is going to start. And so, yeah. Vito also said it's way off during international breaks. Frankly, one super expert is way off during international breaks. And I agree with Nanzo here, and I wouldn't say this to Vita if he was listening, but SorareData is a good data source. However, using multiple metrics and data sources is best for setting lineups. I don't disagree with that at all. So yeah, we don't look at the community projection and think like it's done. We nailed it. Like we know that there are ways to improve it, and we talk about it all the time. I mean, it's literally what we do. That's our job. To like think of ways to make that better and more effective for people. And we spend a lot of time on it. Not me. I just get to talk about it. Vita spends a lot of time on it, and Erwan. John says extra work. I think this was the lineup score or the strength. What are we calling this thing? I keep this lineup strength indicator. But this has me even more excited to leave this international week behind and get back to club football. Amen, John. Let's see. Mike said that message, which is the "you could have done better," needs to be voice, not email, Andy. Maxime only needs right. Maxime will show up at your funeral and tell you should have listened to us. Kubusaki said, I feel like Play Sharper covers the if the start part and their predicted score part for me. So like looking at Play Sharper or any other lineup predict, like Bill does them for the Bundesliga. If you see somebody is 80% to start or 50% to start, like I struggle with this because people look at percentages differently, and people don't understand probabilities. It's as simple as that. And from my DFS days, it was so clear that people don't get it, that if something is 90% to happen and it doesn't happen, people are like, you were wrong. And it's not. It's just like it was highly likely to happen and it didn't happen. And that occurs sometimes. And so I struggle that, I don't know, I struggle with that. Anyway. Nanzo said treating international breaks as bonus game weeks is best for your sanity. I've never considered it like that, but I love that. Yeah. Because they suck. And that's from Nanzo, who probably has like all of the right cards to have in an international break. Yeah. Match closest people don't understand percentages and probabilities. Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And so it's difficult because our percentages that we show about starting is different than what other site, like there's, yeah, it's just different. I will say, to give a little background on the percentages that we have, effectively, like I said, it's not that there are, if there are 100 people saying somebody's, or projecting somebody, and 92 of them say they will start, we don't necessarily put out that it's a 92% confidence rating that they're going to start. We weight much more heavily people who are good at predicting lineups, and people who are bad are not included in that. So if you're really bad at lineup projections, they will not be included in that percentage, or at least very, very small. And so I think there was a situation there, and not I think, I know there was a situation recently. And I don't remember who the player was. I don't even remember who the Sorare managers were. Vita here can confirm it. But basically, there was a situation where we had like 20 people projecting a player to start. And it was a smaller league, I think. And so we just didn't have that many projections. But the people who did submit the projections had been right a lot in the past, 85, 90% accuracy for this player. And one person, just before the deadline, found out that they were not going to play. Maybe it was 10 minutes before the deadline, and went in and submitted that they were not going to start. And we didn't change our 100% confidence rating that they were going to start. And the question was, why didn't that change? Because somebody came in and said, this guy's not going to start. And the reason was, you had that person, that Sorare manager, had never submitted a projection for that player before. And so we were taking somebody who has not proven that they know the team, and we're just randomly saying that they were not going to start. And they were right. Like, they were actually right. But would you want that included in the projection of somebody who had never done it before and was just like, oh yeah, he's not going to start? Like, how much confidence do you even put in that person's projection? And we currently don't. Like, if you were like, there are 20 people here who are very good at projections because we've seen the thousands that they've submitted. They're very good. They all say he's going to start. And we have this other guy over here who's never projected before. He said he's not going to start. Who are you going to listen to? Mike says, take notes and try to get players down to 99% to mess with Laird's head. So, but the problem is, Mike, the more you're wrong, then we won't even listen to you. It won't even be included. Brad Craig said, I understand percentages. I either finish in first or I don't. 50% chance of winning every time. Amen, Craig. You got it. I bet you're like a mathematician or something. Nick Gunid said, are the weightings specific to leagues or general accuracy? I think, I'm not the expert here, but I think they're actually player-based. And like, generally people, if it's a team, they will do it, but I don't know for sure. Oh, it is. Nailed it. There you go. Specific to each player. So you could be like really bad at projecting PSG, but really good at projecting Mbappe. And we'll take that. We'll take your Mbappe. We'll give you more credit for Mbappe. But again, and so those things do go into the pick score. And so I will say that the most popular request about pick scores that I've gotten, and I don't think I've actually, we probably talked about it, is people who want to see adjusted pick scores. Like, oh, I actually think they're a 40% favorite to win. And you want to be like, yeah, but I think they're definitely winning, so I want to change that to 90%. How does that change the pick score? And the other was, this guy is not expected to start, so his pick score is low because he's not projected to start. And you're like, no, he's definitely starting. And so I want to see what the pick score is if he starts, and we'll see. Yeah, the joke internally was that Erwan was only very good at projecting Dybala. Mike Basson said, so the person who was right, could there not be something that checks the time of submission? Realistically, if a submission is made within an hour of kickoff time, it's likely to be correct. I don't know if that's realistically or not. Could be somebody who's just fucking around. Like, sorry for swearing. Like, I don't think that there's anything like a late submission means that it's more right or wrong. I think people are equally bad ahead of time as opposed to right at the buzzer. I do think that it would be interesting to see like an alert if all of a sudden like it's moving down, but theoretically it'll, if it's at 100 now it's at 85, like, something's going on. Because people have talked to me about that of do the like if the percentage changes, you get like an alert, like, hey, this guy was 100% when you saved your lineup, but now he's 80%. Do you want to do something? Yeah, here you go, Vita. You'd be surprised how many wrong projections are done just before the deadline. So, and the other thing is, and I think that this is a kind of a flaw that I'm not sure we have a solution for, is, sorry, I just looked down at my phone and I completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, got it. I think there's a fundamental flaw with the way that we do projections as part of a competition that not prohibits at all, but there are a lot of people who will submit suggestions early in the game week and then news comes out and they don't change them. And I think the people who take the line of projections very seriously do change it because they don't want to be wrong. But there are a lot that people, like, when I do my lineups, and admittedly I stopped doing this for a while because I had such a good July that I'm like, or maybe it was August, I'm like, I'm retiring from lineup projections. Don't worry, I'll do them again. But what we see are people like, submitting lineups on Tuesday for the Friday, for a Saturday game, and news comes up, someone gets hurt, or there's midweek competition and they submit a lineup on Wednesday, a player gets hurt Thursday, so we know they're going to be out. And so the point that, so what happens is we end up getting people who are wrong. And it just could be that they're usually good at it, but we get it wrong that week. And so there's something like that. Vita said it's like Messi retiring after winning the preseason trophy. All right. So the best part is, Vita was here for that. Or here. I wasn't even there. So for those of you who don't know, I haven't even submitted one. For those of you who don't know, did I do it in? Oh, it was July. If you submit a minimum of 500 projections in a month, and 500 sounds like a lot, but you get like 40 in a single game. So it's really not that much over the course of a month. And one easy way to beat the system, I don't want to give away too much here, I'm just giving away answers left and right. The K-League has like absurdly big rosters and guys who never play. So you just say that they're out and that just helps you get to 500. But if you get to 500 and you have an accuracy of at least 80%, you are entered into a raffle where you can win other stuff. And I won. So Ben saying, have you won anything predicting? Yes, I did. And because I work for SorareData, I couldn't get the prize, which is bullshit. But it was also a 1-month membership. So I get it. I didn't really need it. But yeah, Vita and Erwan do a run the raffle on their stream, and I won, and they had to rerun it, and I was really disappointed. Vita says you may as well change the title to Andrew is telling everyone how the sauce is made and how to steal it. It's one of those things that even if everybody had the ingredients and the instructions, nobody's actually making the meal. Ben Johnson said, look at all the ACL injuries and predict them not in the squad is a good one. I have an ACL watch list just for this reason. That's fun. I have not heard that as a use case for SorareData watch lists, but I love it. I love it. Kubasaki said, I like the fact that I think it's not my fault when my player does not start when he had like an 80% to start because some random guy I never saw or talked to said he would. Yeah. Yeah. Blue Tomatoes, did you come up with a K-League idea or a user? I don't remember hearing that from somebody, but I will take credit for it. I just I went in because I have some K-League cards. So I was like, oh, I'll just do the Soul lineup. And I'm like, oh, there are like 58 players on this roster. And so you just say, yeah, they're all out and it's great. I got nothing else. So if you guys have anything, I'm having fun here. But if you guys have anything else, Ben said you can predict guys for these internationals that weren't even called up. I mean, frankly, I saw a number of lineup projections other places that included guys who were not called up. So the getting official lists is not that easy. And getting them in a way that is scalable to do for dozens of teams throughout the world is just not that easy. So that's why I get having one person go through Twitter and getting all the list. It's just not, it's not feasible. Yeah. Blue Tomatoes, are you doing NFL content now too? I've done a lot of NFL content in my life. I stopped doing it, obviously. I think that most of the Rain Metrics content this year will be about Rain Metrics and not Rainmakers, as weird as that sounds. I think the way that there's just so much, the way the NFL works is usually players who are going to be good on the weekend are known by everyone. Not known, but they're talked about by everyone. And if you notice that almost none of the content that we do on this channel is game week previews, and NFL is a lot like that so much of it is just because they only play 17 games and it's only once a week. And so much of the focus is here's who's good this week. And there is some here's who's good in 2 weeks. But I think, like I said, I think most of the stuff that we talk about, that we will talk about, I mean, there will be Rain Metrics content, excuse me. So, but I think most of it will be, this is how you use Rain Metrics to do this. And there are playing Rain Metrics, as we say, there are a lot of ways you can play Sorare. The ways that you can play Rain Metrics have some similarities to Sorare, but there are also some very big differences. And we'll probably focus on that as opposed to the actual on-field American football stuff. So don't hold your breath for me to being this is who I like in the Chiefs Lions game this week. Cause I don't do that anymore. I used to do it every week. I did it the DFS show with Scott Jenstead, who I love. And I had so much fun doing that show every week. But as soon as I stopped doing it, I moved on to SorareData. And I really, to be honest, I really haven't followed the NFL like I used to. And this will bring me back into it. Yeah. So Ben, yeah, VPNs do not work for rainmakers. It is just available in the US. I didn't think it was in Canada. Maybe it is. Yeah, Vita, this is it. I'm a football man now, not American football. But yeah, we'll see what that goes to. It will not be on this channel. There'll be like a separate Rainmakers channel. So I think everybody who doesn't want to listen to it won't have to. Zarchi, hello. Happy Friday to you as well. Got here just in time for me to finish. Unless you guys want to keep going. Like I said, I'm in no rush today. Felt like talking. Is there anything that I want to talk about this week? I think Sean will be back next week. I actually don't know yet. We'll find out. Sean has some stuff going on. That's why there was no strategy show this week. It was also Labor Day here in the US, so I didn't really work that much. So yeah, you guys got anything else? Apples? Ben, what squads are you excited about this game week? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I absolutely hate this game. Apples. Where do we rate apples? All right. Okay. You got me. I'll do it. So, Mike Basson, can you do a show with the Algo for strategy show instead? That's fun. That's fun. Spartan Dog said red apples are for serial killers, which is wild because aren't like most apples red? Yeah, that's weird. Kubasaki said you do have a dream job, Laird. You don't even know the half of it, to be honest. It's, yeah. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I do. Literally do. It's awesome. It's really cool. I will say that it's the whole, like when you're growing up, like what do you want to be when you grow up? This didn't exist when I was growing up. So like I'll say it this way. I grew up a long time ago, but I wouldn't have ever dreamed that this was a possibility. So there's that. Vita said you only need Sean with a modified voice and no camera. Yeah, maybe. Germ said Honeycrisp and Granny are superior. Like Honeycrisps, I think might be the best. Oh, Jordan said Pink Ladies. Those are pretty good too. I like apples. I'll put it that way. I think the versatility of apples is great. I'm only talking about this now. I feel bad. I actually don't want to talk about this now. I will only say that Black, who brought this up, ate a fruit that will remain nameless, and he did not die. And frankly, I'm shocked because I feel like I just discovered something that has been a lie my entire life. And I need some time to process that. Vita said, I'm always impressed by people knowing apple species when I call them by color only. Maybe we'll do like a apple vlog. I live in a part of the United States that has like apple orchards come like October that are great. And so maybe I'll do a live stream from an apple orchard and I can show you guys the different kind of apples that you can get. But yeah. Matchlow said Pink Lady is the most known species in Germany. Really? Sorry, for those listening, Pink Lady is the most known species of apple in Germany. That. And Andy said apple species are like weed species. Apple pick score incoming, say no more. That's great. That is great. That is a great line. Apple pick score. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. But yeah, so we're going to pick this up on Sorare Andrews next week because I don't want to rain on Andy's parade here. But I will say, due to the fruit that he ate, there is a possibility he'll be dead by then. And so I don't want to promise that he'll be on because I'm frankly shocked that he's here chatting after eating what he did. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's do that on Sorare Andrews. Speaking of that, I forget who it was now. Somebody made a comment that like all we do is talk shite on that show, which I was like a bit offended by and also proud. But Mike, you just get out with that. Apples are better than burgers. And yes, the pink ladies were in Greece. Good call, Skozer. But I took offense to the fact that people, or at least one person, thought that Andy and I just talk shit on Sorare Andrews, because I feel like we do have reasonable conversations about Sorare that are about things that people think about. And I don't want to say that show has a point, but it's just kind of the point of like what you can get out of Sorare. That is not, here are 5 players you should go buy that are less than $5, or hey, here's the best pick scores from this week, or should I move to Rare Pro? Like, I think that there are certain things that we all want to talk about. And Andy, simply like Fruit Talk is better than Sorare, but now apparently we're combining them with Apple pick scores. But I wasn't really offended. But I do think that you know what you're getting when you tune in to Sorare Andrews. Thank you, Mike. And next week it'll be about fruit. Not the whole show. Like there's always something about Sorare there. Charlie Denbar said, talking shite isn't really offensive. It's more saying talking about nothing in particular. I presume it was Nep that said that. It was not Nep. It was not Nep. But yeah, I think it's fundamentally just, all right, I'm actually harping on this now. I wasn't even going to bring that up. Oh, Jordan Wallace, the pineapple cut. I'm literally putting this in my notes right now. Because I do want to bring the pineapple cutter on the show next week. Thank you for reminding me. Pineapple. I'll just do a pineapple. Now I have to remember to buy a pineapple. What was I talking about? Andy talking shit. Oh, Skozer, you're right. Talking shit is not the same as talking shite. You're right. You're right. So yeah, we were talking shite. And it was not Nep. Oh man, what was I? Nanzo, you're getting the Andrew Sorers incidental. That's right. There it is. That's what I was going to thank you. That actually reminded me. Marcus, does SorareData have special access to the Sorare API? I don't think it's special, or it's not unique. I don't think we have. I don't know though. That's stuff that's way beyond anything I would know, but I don't think so. Like, I know people can get access to the Sorare API. So one of the great things about Sorare, I was not expecting to go into this an hour and 13 minutes in, but we're going in. So it's like everybody jokes with NFT projects, like, oh, the community, blah, blah, blah. The communities that come up because of Sorare are great. One of those Sorare communities is the reason I am here. Literally. I got into Sorare. I was not even in really Sorare, but like I started talking about getting into Sorare. I don't remember how it happened. And Andy Black reached out to me and was like, hey, I saw you talking about Sorare. He was probably sitting there like, you obviously have no idea what you're doing. And he offered to help. And he did. It was great. And he invited me into this Discord. Maxime was there. He's not there anymore. But just in having a small group of people to talk to about Sorare, eventually led me to know Maxime better and literally led me to have this job. There are those small types of communities all over Sorare. And within those communities, conversations come up that have absolutely nothing to do with Sorare. And that's that community aspect of a bunch of people hanging out who have at least one similar interest that they're really into. And that similar interest is Sorare. Allows them to then talk about other things that they may not talk about. Not to get too personal, but Andy and I have kids of similar age, and they play football. And I was asking him the other day about the travel and the whole thing. Like, that doesn't happen without Sorare, because I don't know Andy without Sorare. And it's those things that come up, not because they're Sorare. Andy's right. They don't play football. They play soccer. But everyone here doesn't know that. But you're right. They play soccer. And I was asking him about soccer, which is on Sorare. But what Sorare Andrews has become, and I don't think none of it was intentional, but what Sorare Andrews has become is partially those conversations that people have in Discords, just out in the open and to each other. And that's why you guys participating in the chat, or anyone leaving comments, or just talking about the show, it just expands what we get out of Sorare. And I find that show, somebody had described it as like two guys in a pub talking about Sorare. And I don't have any sentimental music to play. Would you trade your friendship with Andy for a tier 0 super rare? Of course I would. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, all right. Well, it sounds like Andy's taking the tier 0 super rare. Depends how big the star pool is. That's a great answer, Andy. So it's stuff like that. And I feel like fundamentally that's what that show is about. And to be honest, I don't know if SorareData is the right place for that show, but that's where it is. And I enjoy that show every week. And I'm bummed that it's going to end because Andy's going to die after eating an unnamed fruit. It's a bummer. It really is. But anyway, that's what that show's all about. I will also say that I'm tinkering with other show ideas, partially to replace office hours, even though Maxime is adamant that he wants to keep talking about Sorare. We'll see how that works out. He gets busy. Charlie said, which Andy will replace him on Sorare Andrews? I don't even know if I know any other Andys, but you're right. It might just have to be a full rebrand. Blue Tomatoes is speaking the truth here. Office hours now with Vita. I've been trying. I'm just kidding. I mean, like, it'll happen. It'll happen. But I don't know if that needs to be a weekly show or not, because I don't think we need to necessarily talk about every week. Oh, John Andrews here. Literal Sorare Andrews. All right. I see you. But yeah, so there's that. All right, I'll go down. That was fun. Thank you to everybody for joining. I really appreciate everybody in this live chat, not to downplay everybody who watches after, but I cannot talk for an hour and almost 20 minutes without you guys here. And so I really, really appreciate you guys joining. And it honestly helps every stream we do. And so please keep coming. And nothing against people who just like can't make it. I know there's some people who watch the show and they're on the other side of the world, and therefore they're sleeping right now and they don't want to wake up in the middle of the night to watch. I get it. But yeah, appreciate everyone who's able to join in, and you choose to, because it's a ton of fun for me. And agreed with what was said earlier. I have a pretty crazy dream job, and you guys are a big part of that. So thank you very much. We'll be back There will be a strategy show Monday. I have absolutely no idea if Sean will be there, and we'll see what happens. Last thing. Zarchi said, my son has his first soccer game, 3.5-year-old. Should be a shit show. I will confirm it will be a shit show. Do I wear my Sorare hat to see if I can get any unwarranted conversations? 1, absolutely. And 2, why are they unwarranted? You know, those are totally warranted conversations. You just want somebody to come up and be like, hey, what's in your gallery? Anyway, thank you everybody for coming, and good luck this horrible weekend international break. But yeah, good luck.